Jumping and camera control are at the heart of 3D platforming. One provides options for navigating the space, and the other provides options for viewing it. Take any 3D platformer from the past 5, 10, or even 20 years, and it's clear that we've established a standard control scheme for this. Jump goes on X, the bottom face button, while camera control goes on the right stick. Now how do you go about pressing jump while turning the camera, or turning the camera while holding jump? The short answer is, you don't, because both actions are performed exclusively by your right thumb, which means you're essentially forced to choose between one or the other. This isn't strictly true, of course, and I imagine most players get by with adjusting the camera once before jumping and again afterwards, like I'm doing here, but alternative control schemes are available that don't restrict the player in this way, and I think they're worth exploring. My favourite example is Ape Escape, where camera control is on the D-pad and jump is on R1. It's definitely awkward at first, but with a bit of practice you can claw grip so that your index finger is on the D-pad while your thumb is on the left stick. This grants you the freedom to move, control the camera, jump, and use or select gadgets all at the same time. You're always in control of every action available to you, and utilising the right stick for core gameplay actions is honestly a fun and engaging experience. No game has ever done this like Ape Escape, and I'd love to see it done more. Annoyingly, claw grip doesn't really work with non-PlayStation controllers due to the D-pad and left stick being swapped, but that's a topic for another day. An old school approach is the Lakitu cam found in Mario 64, which is even refined by Galaxy, 3D World, and 64's many ROM hacks. Here, the camera isn't completely free, and instead pivots between fixed angles. This turns camera control from an analog affair to a digital affair, allowing it to be mapped elsewhere like the shoulder buttons, but more importantly, allowing for consistent calculated view changes in the blink of an eye. Mario 64 and its many ROM hacks thrive on parkour or trick jump focused gameplay, and the fixed angles can often be advantageous in quickly setting up precise jumps where an analog camera would be sluggish or overwhelming. Levels have to be designed around this to some degree, but the sheer number and popularity of good Mario 64 ROM hacks should be evidence that this is not an issue. When was the last time you saw a tight, fast-paced platforming sequence like this? I'd like to stress that Mario 64's ROM hacks tend to execute Lakitu Cam much better than 64 itself. The original sometimes likes to smooth out view changes, which slows them down and makes them feel unresponsive, and Lakitu often curves or tries to follow Mario with no player input. ROM hacks generally do away with this, and the result is much cleaner. As an aside, the original Spyro trilogy has its analog camera mapped to the shoulder buttons, and that works perfectly fine, so perhaps an ideal solution would let you toggle between the two. If you'd rather leave camera control where it is, why not move the jump button instead? Halo has offered the bumper jumper control scheme, where jump is on L1, for 2 decades now, precisely so players can keep their thumbs on both sticks at all times. The obvious benefit is preserving full camera control on the right stick, but another is that I'd argue the shoulder buttons are a good fit for core gameplay actions. Your index and middle fingers naturally rest over all 4 and rarely move away, so they're well suited to actions you'd want to repeat often or wouldn't want to give up. Platformers should take note of this, especially those that double down on face buttons while largely ignoring the shoulders. To be clear, I'm not suggesting that any of these solutions should become the new standard, or even that the current standard is bad. My point is that they're different solutions to the same problem, and they have a right to coexist. Controller remapping certainly plays a role in addressing this, but you can't remap core game mechanics to fully utilize the right stick, or remap the camera to pivot between fixed angles. These are fundamental design choices that need to be considered by the developer. Moreover, while I do think that controller remapping is a power that players should be given, I don't think it should be used as an excuse to not provide alternative control schemes in the options menu. This is an opportunity for developers to include less conventional control schemes that they feel complement the game, or more complex control schemes that experienced players might appreciate. In summary, I'd like to see more 3D platformers consider tweaking the standard control scheme to better serve the gameplay, outright dropping the standard control scheme to allow for interesting and engaging experiences, or at the very least, offering alternative control schemes in the options menu to accommodate different styles of play.